previous video, we looked at the WWE superstars with the most losses every year for the past 20 years. And because I'm a content creator without a single ounce of creativity to their soul, we're gonna do the same thing, but now for wins. I'm just gonna warn you right now, I hope you like John Cena, because you're gonna be seeing him a couple times. Something that we learned from the previous video of looking at who had the most losses every year is that it was typically the top heel, and I have a feeling that we're gonna be looking at the same thing here, just in reverse. And because this list encompasses wins and losses from house shows, you're always gonna send the house show crowd home happy, which is why you're gonna see a lot of the top baby faces from that year being on this list. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at the past 20 years since 2004. Every single year, we're gonna see who had the most wins. And based on popular demand, I'm gonna show you their losses as well. And if I remember any of the historical context as to why they were at the top of the company, I'll share that as well. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start off with 2004. And 2004 is weirdly a really important year for the world of the WWE. It's an important year because it's the year that Brock Lesnar decided that he no longer wanted to be a WWE superstar, which left a giant void at the very top of the main event scene in the WWE. Not only did the WWE lose Brock Lesnar early in 2004, but they also had already lost Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they had lost The Rock to Hollywood. So really, there was a massive vacuum of power in the main event scene, and it was really just up to somebody to step up and take it because Triple H was cemented as the top heel of this time. There was no one taking his spot, but WWE didn't have a top babyface, and what you're gonna see is that they experimented a lot in 2004. The person with the most wins was Chris Benoit with a record of 136 wins and 27 losses. And it's crazy to think about that because I don't think that Chris Benoit ultimately was this super powerful babyface that won all the time. It just sort of always felt like he was second fiddle throughout his time at the top of the card. And that's because the WWE was willing to try other people. Just as a fun fact, the rest of the list includes Randy Orton in second place, Chris Jericho in third, and this is where we see the rise of John Cena, who's in fourth place. And what's crazy is that Mark Jindrak is near the top of this list as well. So as you can see, the WWE at this time is kind of scrambling and trying out different names at the top of the card. 2005, and I warned you at the beginning of this video that you better get ready to like some John Cena because we're gonna see John Cena numerous times throughout this list. But 2005 is really when the powerhouse that was Super Cena really began. Look at that record, 137 wins to only 8 losses. That is absolutely bananas. There is no one that's been able to replicate this record as of yet in terms of overall win percentage. This is absolutely an unbelievable run, and he did this across both Raw and SmackDown as well. 2005 was really the year where the WWE gave John Cena the ball because they tried giving the ball to so many people in 2004, and unlike some of the other people in 2004, John Cena never dropped it, and he kept that bad boy in 2006 where he went 140 and 27. Not quite as dominant of a run as the previous year, but still a pretty incredible run from John Cena for these 2 years. Don't worry, it's not just Cena across the board throughout the entire Ruthless Aggression and PG era, but trust me, there's another nasty stretch that you're gonna see John Cena in here. 2007 is a year that John Cena wasn't at the top because John Cena did suffer an injury at one point in 2007 that held him back for a good chunk of the year, which just like in 2004 forced the WWE to try their hand at different other people at the top of the card. Luckily for the WWE, they did have Batista, who was already a second babyface in the WWE, ready to step up and had a fantastic year at 135 victories to only 18 losses. But because of that John Cena injury, it's interesting to note that people like CM Punk were near the top of the list. Jeff Hardy was near the top of the list, and even Matt Hardy was near the top of the list, and Chuck Palumbo as well. So just something to note note, when the top babyface of the company goes down, it forces the WWE to scramble and find somebody else to give the ball to. Luckily, they had another top player in Batista to be able to carry the mantle for a while. 2008 saw the resurgence of Triple H with a crazy record of 118 wins and 18 losses. And I'm not going to lie to you, this one kind of caught me off guard, because when I think of 2008, I always think of Jeff Hardy, don't you? The most popular people on the planet, as they say. Barack Obama and Jeff Hardy were the two most popular people in 2008. And I thought that Jeff Hardy was going to be higher on this list, but as it turns out, he's all the way down in 10th. As a fun fact, Matt Hardy had more wins than Jeff Hardy in 2008. Let that one sink in for a second. And in second place isn't John Cena, it's actually CM Punk. So this was a pretty weird year at the top of the card as well. Now we are on to the real nasty stretch of Super Cena. And this is the era of WWE where I don't blame you if you fell off. I don't blame you if you ultimately ended up hating Cena for the rest of his career because of this crazy stretch that you're about to see that he went on, because he really didn't lose. There was no going over Cena. Cena always won. Cena always found a way. He always overcame the odds. And if a feud was about to end, it was always going to go Cena's way. In 2009, John Cena put up a crazy 150 and 18 record. And what's interesting is that in second place isn't Triple H or CM Punk. It's Kofi Kingston. So Kofi Kingston was really rising up the card here. But again, no one was even close to John Cena, as this year Cena had 40 more wins than everyone else. And then there's 2010, which again, you know, is the year that Cena buried the Nexus. But just like the previous year, John Cena comes in and just cleans house on every single human on the planet in the WWE, because house shows always have to end with the top babyface on top. And there was no one else from 2009 to 2011 that could even so much as rival John Cena at the top of the card as the top babyface in the WWE. Frankly, I think that this is a stretch of time where the WWE was lazy and not very creative, because it just seemed like everything was always just sort of booked around John Cena. I know this is a bit of a side note, but I do feel like in this stretch of WWE, if you pluck Cena out, WWE was kind of screwed. Compare that to today's landscape of professional wrestling, where there isn't that one guy that is carrying the company on his back. Like if you were to take Cody Rhodes away from the WWE right now, WWE is going to be just fine, because they've learned to not have to rely on one person like they did during this stretch, because he was also at the top in 2011. To be fair, they're building him up here for The Rock versus John Cena. You gotta have him be strong. John Cena went on a 165 win year to only 25 losses. This is a year where Randy Orton was also a babyface, so we saw Randy Orton climb the top of the charts here and actually rival John Cena, because Randy Orton actually had 151 wins. This is the closest anyone was to Cena, and it had to be Randy freaking Orton to even come knocking at the door of John Cena during this stretch. 2012 finally gave us a new babyface at the top of the card. This is somebody that the WWE tried to make a top babyface, and they tried hard in 2012. Unfortunately, I feel like the WWE kind of self-sabotaged him, but you're going to see an insane number of wins for this guy. And just as a side note, John Cena did come in second place with 164 wins. So Cena's still absolutely cooked this year, but no one touched Sheamus in 2012. Nearly 200 victories in 2012. If you remember, he won the Royal Rumble and then just went on a crazy stretch that included defeating Daniel Bryan in 18, was it 18 or 28 seconds? One of those two at WrestleMania 28. Maybe that's why I'm remembering 28. I think it was 18 seconds, but it was WrestleMania 28. Sorry, this is just how my brain works. Stick with me here. But Sheamus, right off the get-go, lost a lot of goodwill with the hardcore fans because of whether it was obviously not his fault, it was just booking, but he was on the positive end of the decision of how they treated Daniel Bryan. So I know that a lot of hardcore fans were anti-Sheamus, but a lot more of the casuals, the kids, etc., they love Sheamus at around this time. And he was an incredibly dominant, almost frustratingly so dominant world heavyweight champion, where really they were just following the John Cena model with Sheamus, but ultimately it didn't really work beyond 2012. 2013 really came about from the seeds that were planted, whether it was on purpose or by accident. Let's face it, by accident. There's no way that they intended on this to happen, because Daniel Bryan became such a darling of the internet and wrestling community and hardcore fans around the world. It eventually began to spread into the Yes movement that started in 2013 with him winning the WWE Championship from John Cena and then going on a really great run, being part of the Wyatt family, and ultimately culminating in the Miracle of Bourbon Street at WrestleMania 30 in 2014. He had a great record of 185 and 37 losses. What's interesting is that I don't remember Daniel Bryan actually being this dominant on television, because his storyline was that he kept getting screwed over and kept getting just loss after loss after loss because of decisions from the referee, from Triple H. At least that's how I remember the on-screen Daniel Bryan. But again, this encompasses house shows as well, and he was the biggest babyface at the time, and you could have him win every house show main event that you could possibly think of without impacting the storylines that were happening on TV of him getting screwed over by the Authority. So I bet that a good chunk of those 185 wins are a lot of house shows, and I bet a lot of those losses are actually televised. 2014 is actually the most shocking one. Take a guess right now. Don't fast forward. Take a guess. 2014, you might think like maybe Roman Reigns, John Cena, maybe Daniel Bryan. Who knows, right? There's a lot of options to pick from. I guarantee you that none of you picked Jimmy Uso. I have a picture of both the Usos here because at this time they were a tag team. I couldn't find a picture of just Jimmy Uso by himself. But to be fair, this really was just a crazy tag team record because Jey Uso was right behind Jimmy with only a couple of less victories. But yeah, almost every single victory that Jimmy Uso had this year was in a tag team match. Televised house shows, they were just such a dominant tag team that maybe they really are the ones who should be sitting at the head of the table with a crazy ass record like this of 144 victories and only 43 losses. The reason why it's Jimmy Uso and not Jey Uso is because Jimmy Uso had like 4 more matches than Jey Uso that were singles matches, and that really was the difference there. But yes, John Cena is still near the top, so is Sheamus, but ultimately it was Jimmy Uso that was at the top of the charts. 2015 should be an easy one to predict if you've been watching wrestling for a while and you were around watching how frustrating WWE was during this stretch, because you know that it was blue-eyed Roman Reigns at a crazy record of 187 wins and 19 losses. Roman Reigns won everything. They were making Roman Reigns the next 2012 Sheamus, the next PG era John Cena. Everything was being booked around Roman Reigns at this time, winning Royal Rumbles, going on to WrestleMania, and beating just about everyone that came across from him. And that was really a stretch that carried right into 2016, where he won championships as well with a crazy record of 142 wins and 12 losses. Everything at this time revolved around Roman Reigns, whether it was his pursuit for the championship, his storylines against the Authority. Every main event story arc was around Roman at this time, and it frustrated the hell out of so many people. 2017, not gonna lie, kind of caught me off guard. I was not expecting it to be Dean Ambrose. I really thought that we were gonna have a stretch of it being Roman Reigns, right from 2015 right to 2017, but it is the Shield that is at the very top of the mountain. 1, 2, 3. It's Dean Ambrose that tops the charts with 143 wins, but right below him is Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns as well, who were just absolutely on a tear throughout Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. This is when we needed the Shield triple threat, when they were the top 3 guys in the WWE, but they never pulled the trigger on doing the Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. They really should have done it at this time. 2018 is actually a pretty obvious one because this is the era of SmackDown Live, the land of opportunity, the house that this guy built. This is 2018 AJ Styles, this unbelievably good run that he had on Friday Night SmackDown as WWE champion of 137 wins and 14 losses. Honestly, there weren't too many options that weren't gonna piss off a lot of people at around this time, but Seth Rollins was up there. Finn Balor actually had a lot of wins during this time, and if you can believe it, it's actually Asuka who was in second place, who was doing a run of her unbeaten unbeaten streak here. 2019 kind of caught me off guard. It's kind of an obvious one, but I thought it was more obvious to go with somebody else. I thought it was Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch was the biggest star, the biggest babyface of this year, but it was the second biggest babyface that ultimately takes the spot in Seth Rollins. Now, don't fret, Becky Lynch is near the top here. She's actually in 6th place behind Bayley, Ricochet, and Kofi Kingston, if you can believe it. But at the very top was the what was he going? Was he Kingslayer? No. He was the Beast Slayer at this time, going after Brock Lesnar, being the Universal Champion, and being just an unstoppable top babyface. 2020 is when we're done seeing those triple-digit victories for these top babyfaces, because as you know, the Panini Press happened in 2020, but this was a stretch that was carried almost entirely by Drew McIntyre, who won the Royal Rumble, became WWE Champion, and did all of these things pretty much in front of no one aside from the Royal Rumble. At the very least, he got that pop, but he was the man that was carrying the WWE at this time. This is when Roman Reigns was away from the WWE for about 6 months because of the pandemic scare, because of his leukemia. So it really was up to Drew McIntyre to carry the WWE with a record of 47 wins and 5 losses. Now, when people say that Drew McIntyre really carried the pandemic era, a lot of people only think 2020, but look at his record in 2021, because he actually topped it as well at 75 wins and 21 losses. This is where we're getting a bit more shows, house shows as well. We're getting back in front of fans, but Drew McIntyre was still the kingpin at the top of baby faces in the WWE at this time. So shout out to Drew McIntyre for carrying the WWE during just some of its absolute worst times. 2022 was a year that would have likely been Cody Rhodes, but he got hurt like about halfway through it with the torn pectoral. And this is the first and only time that we're seeing a female at the top of this list. It was Bianca Belair, which shouldn't surprise you with how absolutely dominant she was, especially post WrestleMania 38 when she became champion and beat Becky Lynch. There was no one touching Bianca Belair this year. This is when she went on that crazy streak of 82 wins and 18 losses. And then 2023, we are starting to knock on John Cena-like records and numbers here. 2023 was the year of Cody Rhodes, where he only lost 5 times, 108 victories and 5 losses. Off the top of my head, like I know that he lost to Roman Reigns and lost to Brock Lesnar once, but maybe some other people know in the chat what some of his other losses are. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Cody Rhodes was an absolute machine in 2023, and a machine that continues to roll through in 2024 with a record currently of 46 wins and only 2 losses. One of those losses being the night 1 main event of WrestleMania 40. Frankly, I don't see him losing more than 3 times. I think we could see a year where Cody Rhodes finishes with a record of maybe like over 100 wins and maybe only like 4 losses. This is going to be a really dominant year that is going to rival that John Cena year in terms of win percentage. Mark my words. All right, folks, that's the video. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Did any of these catch you off guard? I know the Jimmy Uso one caught you off guard because it caught me off guard, but I'm done. Get out of here.